I'm just managing to make a mess of something technically, but I'm trying to get back to it. Let's mute here. Okay, hi all to another kingscrusher radio show on Tuesday. So I've got some other classic games to show you from the Chess Games.com Best of the Best, which we started last week for 1900 to 1909. Of the 10 Best of the Best games, Frank Marshall crept in. He's a really interesting hack attack player. Actually, his style of play is very much like mine, I would say. He had a lot of fun with his attacking chess. But there happens to be a unique game which maybe they should make into a little film or something, because it has some unique annotation by him which I don't think it's not subject to copyright. The game was played in Paris 1900s. So Frank Marshall was playing against Amos Byrne, and this game is known at Chess Games.com as the pipe game. So this was at the time when smoking was allowed indoors. Nowadays you can't even use e-cigs indoors usually. Okay, so smoking was allowed, in particular a pipe. Frank Marshall's opponent, Amos Byrne, was smoking a pipe, as you'll get to see from the annotations here. So the notes were by Marshall. Amos Byrne, a British player. Actually, I want to get some bio while we're here, if there's any on chessgames.com. Oh, there is. Okay, he was born in Hull, Yorkshire, England. He learned to play chess at age 16. 1886, he was first with Blackburn at London but lost the playoff. First at Nottingham in 1886. First with Gunsberg 1887, London 1887. First at Amsterdam 1889. Second off Tigert Barash at Breslau 1889. His best result, Cologne 1898, where he came ahead of Steinitz, Chigorin, Sletter, Karuzek. In 1886 he drew 2 matches. One was against Henry Bird and one against Mackenzie. In 1913 he became editor of The Field, a post until he held until his death in Hammersmith, London in 1925. So yeah, he's a pretty good player. So was he going to be a victim of Frank Marshall? So d4, it's not, you wouldn't think d4 can lead to really aggressive play. Well, let's see what happened in this game. There's a bit of a mystery for it for me, because although I've seen the game a few times, I think it's kind of mysterious how he, okay, what happens. So notes by Marshall. So he loved to smoke his pipe, Amos Byrne, while he studied the board. So d5, c4. Now Byrne, after playing e6, began hunting his pockets apparently for his pipes and tobacco. Right, so we have fairly standard position though. Knight c3, nothing magical yet. Knight f6. Very, very logical move by Marshall. It looks like a positional game at the moment. Queen's Gambit declined. Pretty bog standard stuff. Bishop e7, and the notes by Marshall, not much thought needed on these moves. I'd quite agree. It looks as standard as you can get. But Byrne had his pipe out and was looking for a pipe cleaner. Okay, he was looking for a pipe cleaner. e3, black castled. Yep. The only problem with black's position, well, the Tartakower defence is b6 here to try and solve the c8 bishop problem. So we're in the Tartakower, right? Well, kind of. Bishop d3, bishop b7. Now, okay, this is an interesting point here. White actually kind of unveils an interesting attacking plan, which it is a concession, but the opponent was still trying to find his pipe or cleaner. So c takes d5, we have e takes d5, and Marshall notes he begins filling up his pipe. I speeded up my moves, but this next move is slightly controversial, I'd say. Live book doesn't like this move at all, but actually it's got a hack attack intention. It's not liked at all to give up the dark square bishop here. That's what he played though. It does weaken h7 for sure. It weakens h7, but usually there's several other moves that are favoured here. a3, queen c2, castling. These all have quite a few games. Well, you know, but bishop takes f6, giving up the dark square bishop. Bit controversial. But let's just okay. But okay, h7 has been weakened, and now actually h4. Marshall notes made him think on that one, and he still didn't have the pipe going. There is actually a threat in this position, it seems, just for a Greek gift, which I absolutely love playing the Greek gift in my own blitz games. So Frank Marshall is going for a hack attack with bishop takes h7. Now g6 was played. This might not be the best response actually, although it does seem logical to blunt the bishop and parry that. There might be a better way just to allow it to happen. Example, c5, because with that dark square bishop, white should be in a world of pain on the dark squares. Does this Greek gift work? This wasn't played. Let's have a quick look. Bishop takes, king takes. Was he right? Knight g5. Was Frank Marshall right? There's a move here for black that saves black in this line, which makes c5, you know, kind of, it would have been good. Black to play and win and have a winning position. Have winning position. How would you vote here? What would you vote for black to do in this position? There is a move. And this is interesting actually, because I saw this Magnus Carlsen video earlier, funny enough, and Magnus Carlsen was claiming that often he knows exactly what to do, but he spends all his time at the board, like half an hour later, just making sure it kind of works out correctly. He's like verifying his intuition, but he claims he knows what to do most of the time. But here, Frank Marshall perceived this as a threat, but actually, is there a resource in this position for black which doesn't get wiped out? Is there a resource for black which doesn't get wiped out? If we go with king g8, minus 1,000 points, queen h5, pretty crude. Threatening mate. This doesn't help because we're still threatening mate. This doesn't help because we just play g6, still threatening mate. End of game, end of game, end of game. And if we just go into this just for a moment, if rook e8, we can take here. And actually take this, and we're threatening knight f7 now. That's not very pleasant for black. This is not very pleasant. This is just a losing position basically, even if it's not mating. Losing position. And now if you said king g6, that's just the mate in 4 minus 2,000 points. Check. What'd you do? What'd you do? You go here? It's mate in 1. Go here. As a cute mate in 3 here. g4. Pretty forcing f3. If here, queen f2, checkmate. But there is one resource here available for black, which does make c5. See, I have a confession to you. I forgot what's wrong with this game. I have to show you what's wrong technically with this game. Yeah? that this bishop takes f6 must be unsound, but there's only one way to defend the position here, which is king h6. And then black should have a trump card of the bishop. It should have dark square domination, or pressure at least. How does white continue an attack here? If queen c2 threatening mate, g6. Now this is getting scary though, because h5 gets scary. Best is to eat this knight with the king. Gets scary. There's a threat of g4 and stuff. Bishop g7. King can come back. And the worst is over, right? That's it. White's run out of bits. No mating attack. But yeah, okay. So Amos Bond was, though, in his defense, still trying to find his pipe cleaner. So that's why he played g6. Now g6 really does justify everything that white's done, because it's providing a nice pawn chain to bite on, to undermine. Very nice. h5 at minimum positional now, because this rook is activated. Dangerous threats. Rook e8. White opens up that file. And comments, Frank Marshall comments, now he was looking for matches. So he still hasn't got this pipe going, and he's already made a crucial mistake not to celebrate his dark square bishop. Instead, he's given white a really active rook and a pawn chain which seems not that stable actually. And he still hasn't got the pipe going, even worse than all that, yeah? So, looking for matches. Queen c2, threatening things like bishop takes g6 now. Possibly black should have tried rook e7 here, but he played bishop g7. And guess what? I mean, what does white do here? Guess what? White's play here. Now please tell me this move should be apparent just from the fact it's Frank Marshall, you know. Yeah, what would white play here? Even if you wouldn't play it yourself necessarily, instantly. So yes, worth an investment of playing. Okay, there's a 20-second delay. Let's have a look. Do you need to calculate it? Is it something that needs to be calculated? This reminds me of another tactic, by the way. I don't know why I get reminded of these things, but Nakamura won a very brief game in the US Chess Championship this year. The opponent resigned in a position where there was going to be a tactic involving a double rook sack with a knight here and a queen here, that sort of thing. Because if you can drag and drop the king to h8, then that would be mating. So, but the first step to get that configuration is something like this, which is played. So now we've got a possibility of getting a very dangerous configuration with knight g5. After f takes g, Marshall notes, he struck a match and appeared nervous. The match burned his fingers and went out. Nakamura, Zerabuk or something, Zerabuk against Nakamura game, had a hack attack H file. So this is a hack attack H file, no coincidence, echoed through the centuries. The hack attack H file. So queen takes g6. The match burned his fingers and it went out. Okay, so now we really have actually got this threat of knight g5, rook h8, drag and drop, queen h7, checkmate. That is, if white had 2-3 moves, he'd do that. Knight g5, rook h8, queen h7. Okay, knight d7 was played. Another match was on its way. Knight g5. And I think I've given you a massive spoiler for this game, because actually, funny enough, after queen f6, the game, funny enough, ended rook h8. Yeah, sorry. But he was puffing away and lighting up at last, but too late. So rook h8, king takes, and queen h7. Poor Byrne. I think I swindled him out of that one. If only he could have got the pipe going, it might have been a different story. He took it good-naturedly, and we shook hands. Then his pipe went out. Now, actually, just on the theme of this tactic for reinforcement, I have to show you the Nakamura game that I mentioned there, because it's staggeringly coincidental that this very same tactic is in a game I scheduled on my channel for several days' time, but I might as well show you that game then I've spoiled this one. But you'll get the theme in the end. Let's have a look at a modern day game with this h-file attack, just to get the theme of the tactic. So Nakamura game from the US Championship, just played. I think it's nice to marry this game with this one, a modern day one. So Nakamura has obviously been studying Frank Marshall, as you'll see from this game I'm about to show you, which was only 21 moves. So Yaroslav Zerebuk is a Ukrainian who's now playing in the US Chess Championship. So e4, we have Nakamura playing c6, and we got a hack attack h-file, to cut a long story short, from this position where I think Mikhail Tal liked this move, but I think Mikhail Tal's opponents would normally castle kingside. But in this game, Nakamura cunningly avoided what seems to be live book where you do castle kingside. He seems to be rebelling totally against live book, because I'm sure if White had chess space, he'd be thinking, surely Nakamura castles kingside. There's like not a single game example where black castles queenside in live book, surely, because we get this position with queen f3, and the usual move is just castling here. I tell you the truth here. 13 games in live book with castling kingside. Yeah? What can you do? Chess space is not enough. Yeah? I don't know what you can do against Nakamura. He plays something else. It's never been played before. It seems to encourage to be smashed up, but it doesn't get smashed up. This is not possible, it seems, in this particular configuration, because you might think you're getting 3 pawns, but there's queen c6, and then it's not so clear, right? So his poor opponent plays d takes. Now the threat bishop takes f2, yeah? And now, obviously his opponent hasn't studied Frank Marshall and played knight takes g6. So we've got this h-file, and things get worse with bishop f4 being played. e4, and all of a sudden you can see the horror of this h-file, you know, if knight takes, queen takes. But the horror is not too far away here after bishop takes, rook takes. Now if king takes, there's knight g4. So we have this rook fd1, but now rook here, queen takes, e3, and we've got the same sort of tactic we've just seen, because after knight g4, guess what black is threatening? The game ended here. Black is threatening what? I might have mentioned it. Same tactic pattern. What is black threatening? I'll give you a move. Queen f3. I'll give you a move. What is black threatening? Try and remember this pattern. Reinforce this pattern. There's 2 examples here. This is your time to remember this mating pattern. Drag and drop the king. Queen and knight vicious. The Frank Marshall mating pattern. Now not here, because the king could run. Drag and drop the king. Yeah, that's what could have happened. But the game finished, yeah, on move 21. Game finished after knight g4. So that reminded me of this game. So the game finished earlier, yeah. White resigned on knight g4. It didn't play that out. Well, there you go. You see, h-file. So Frank Marshall's games, I mean, they do get featured a lot for the best of the best in that in that year range. Actually, they do get featured. A very exciting player. Let's have a look at another game. Okay. Lasker against Napier. Cambridge Springs 1904. This could have been where that Cambridge Springs opening came from the Cambridge Springs tournament. So Lasker, that was a slight detour to a modern day game, which I wasn't actually intending until I went over this game. So Lasker against Napier, Cambridge Springs 1904. But you can see we play with chess and the same patterns emerge like hundreds of years later. So e4, even in high level games. So this one, Lasker against Napier, e4, c5. Let's take Lasker's side. Knight c3, knight c6, knight f3, g6. So we have an accelerated dragon, basically. Or is it? Yes, it's an accelerated dragon. Bishop e3, d6, h3. That's kind of positional. That is, yeah, it's mentioned in live, but not in too many games at all, though. Knight f6, g4. We have g5, so d5 control as well is quite good here. And funny enough, I don't know, I love these games. People put these games in their collections, and I play like this. Honestly, I play like this in Blitz. h4, this does seem more than a hack attack, though. It's positionally, the central situation does not have too much concern. The central situation is fine for this h-file attack. If the center was erupting, this would be unsound. You cannot say this attack is unsound. As long as the center's fine, which it is, tick that off. It's fine to play like this. You might think d5 is a big threat. Maybe black's going to play d5? Is that the recipe to handle this hack attack? Well, he plays knight c7. And actually, he does go for the center after f4. He plays e5. And then he hits hard with d5 in the center. Trying to show this attack's rubbish. But is it? E takes d5. Knight d4. Yeah, very dynamic play because the king's in the center, right? Dynamic play is the order of the day, right? Knight takes d4. Knight takes d5. But things get a bit clever here in this position. White doesn't have to fall apart just because the king's in the center. There's a very clever, very technical move, which is like the top engine move, which, funny enough, Lasker finds in this position. I think anything else is virtually, it's equal or worse for black. He finds the one move which keeps white in the game. White's play. So Lasker finds the one move which keeps white in the game. White's play. Will you find this? 200 points if you find it. King's in the center. You've broken all the rules of some coach you've hired. Maybe if those of you, because you shouldn't be indulging in active operations with your king in the center, right? That's a big no-no. Yeah. Desvinder Chevalier will be outraged. Yeah. He's always saying, apparently, you know, you in the opening, you develop your pieces, then you have active operations later. He'll be outraged by this. But actually, it's okay. It's okay in this particular configuration. You have permission. The configuration gives you permission because there's a resource here for white, which makes things okay. Just about. Just about. But can you find it? Is anyone going to find it? No one's going to find it. None of you are going to find it, are you? You're not going to find it. Lasker was just too good. I did engine check some of his games, and he was high accuracy. It's unbelievable. The games I checked for Lasker, I was shocked by the findings, basically. He's probably one of the most underrated world champions ever because his style was difficult to understand. But tactically, you know, he's genius. No, you're not going to find it. No one's going to find it. No one's going to find it. Just to put Queen F3 out of sight, if you play Queen F3, well, knight takes E3, and then what do you do? White's just falling apart. You can't castle queenside even. You're just falling apart. This is end of game. What's this? Everything's falling off the board, and your king's still in the centre. This is no good. This is no good at all. You're just -8 nearly. So yeah, it's not Queen F3. Yeah, it's knight F5. Well, it's not knight takes D5 before because E takes. The king's still in the centre. This is just horrible. Things are just collapsing here. Or if Queen F3, things are just bad after Bishop E6 in particular. Even if you get this position, things are not great. Slightly better for black. Okay, not loads of pieces down there. But the move he played actually technically keeps an advantage. It's knight F5. And you might think, what the heck is this about? What sort of genius move is this? He's just well ahead of his time tactically, Lasker. He notes a very subtle weakness of the last, well, opportunity created by White, actually, which doesn't exist in the position. This E7 square just doesn't, you wouldn't think E7 exists for White. Yeah, in this position, you wouldn't think E7 is critical. You would not. But knight F5, after knight takes C3, queen takes D8. Funny enough, E7 is weak. And there's a check there. Check. So 2 points. What if the king moved this way? It moved this way, which seems dangerous. What if it moved this way? Bishop C5. If that's harassed, Bishop A3. Where's the king go now? If here, we can play, well, knight takes C8. We've got Bishop B5 in hand. We're going to win an exchange. This is going to be good for White. Very good. So anyway, so the king went this way, but now we have a position which is intriguing as well, because you might think this, but that's just going to lose to get a worse position to this, opening up the bishop. If here, rook e8, yes, it's all pretty tricky this game, but basically White's worse here. Yep, White is worse. Even if we take this far, White ends up having a slightly worse position. Now, funny enough, all of that is bypassed again by Lasker. All of this having to be worse is bypassed. He just plays h5. h5, genius. You know, positionally that's suspect anyway. You don't really want to open up the opponent's bishop. You just want to open up this rook, right? You think about your pieces. You just want to open up the rook. So rook e8. We have bishop c5. And now White is actually threatening things like, you know, the knight g6 and the bishop c4 stuff now. So we have g takes, which is probably a mistake. Maybe black should have technically played this and been okay, it seems. Yeah, just about. It's a complex line actually. This is a mess, this position. It's a complex line, but basically okay, black would have been okay there at least. But anyway, no, he played actually g takes h5, and we have bishop c4, e takes. There might have been okay, e takes, bishop takes f7, knight e4. Now white took that there might have been a little bit better with bishop g4 here, to be fair, but knight e4 is a slight mistake. Then bishop takes e8, bishop takes b2, rook b1, check. And yeah, white's pieces are all pretty alive actually here. All of them are pretty alive in this position, and it seems black's king is worse than white's king slightly. Bishop g4, bishop takes h5 out of the firing line, picking up and opening up the h file. Takes, threatening now. Well, this is dangerous in general, but it might be joined by stuff like this, threatening this and this and this and this, that sort of stuff. So knight g3 though, you think the rook's hanging here after knight g3 isn't, so pardon me, isn't the rook hanging? So yep, knight takes h5, rook takes b7 though, and we've got a rook on the 7th, and the threat now, well, is just to get a winning winning endgame. If this a pawn is taken, that's like a winning endgame. So that pawn is moved. Now we have rook b3, and the rook's heading for that h file. Rook h3. We have knight g3. Now g6 looks pretty good, but even better is this move king f3. Just thinking about this knight, to win this knight, well, king takes f4. I mean, the knight's hasn't got too many squares. We have rook a6, king takes f4, check, and the king's going up the board. And now, yeah, g6 is a major one. We have knight c3, and white's also a little bit concerned about the endgames, with this pawn. So he moves his pawn for the moment. But after knight a4, here bishop e3 is played, and black resigned. This is a very, very difficult, lost position, because of g6 is the major threat in this position. g6. Okay, let's illustrate this, why black would have resigned here in particular, because of g6. So h6, we can take here. After bishop f6, there's a crushing blow in this position, which is interesting as a tactical test actually. Can you find a crushing blow for white here? White to play. There's a real bone crushing move in this position. Well, actually there's at least 3 completely winning moves, to be fair. But one's really kind of more crushing than the others. Yeah, we're going to have to rewind to that knight g3 thing actually. This is just the chaotic game. Let's rewind after, maybe for a bit. But here, what would you play here to finish off? Okay, I'll show you actually. h7. Yeah, because now we're threatening knight g6 and queen, yeah? And if takes, then that's off the diagonal. We seize that opportunity, and we just win. We're at exchange up, basically, with a winning endgame. That's pretty trivial. Okay, now this was a chaotic game. If bishop b2, by the way, again g6, and the threat is now mate in 1. And black has to give up basically the rook here, it seems. That's not very good, helpful. Okay, but now the chaos earlier, let's just rewind. There's a question about earlier about this rook hanging. This is a really messy position. So somehow, after this check, we had a position where, yeah, sorry, we had king f1, and you might be wondering, well, at this point, you know, bishop g4 was played. Let's imagine knight g3. I don't think this is very good for black this way. See here, this is even worse version of events. This position is an even worse version of events because of that g6 is still really dangerous. And if king g7 here, it's you know, things are falling off. It's very bad for black, and he's a piece down. He's a piece down anyway. But okay, the other question was that rook, when it took on h5, we have it immediately. Well, this happened when it was taken on h5. So okay, we've covered that. Great. We get this other interesting position after rook takes b7. Okay, so very interesting game there, and shows Lasker really seemed to almost break the rules of active operations before castling, but the position was such that it was okay to do that there. But he had to find 15 knight f5. He had to find this, otherwise he's worse in all variations. So that was really amazing find, like to start off the fireworks. That's really amazing that this was found. By the way, if bishop takes f5, I think we just take on d5 and we're fine. White's fine there. So amazing Lasker game. And one more to show for this part. Albert Whiting Fox against Boyer. Okay. These are lesser known players. Antwerp 1901. E4. E5. Who the heck are these guys? You might wonder. I know. Okay, Albert Whiting Fox. Well, hasn't got anything really about him, unfortunately, and his opponent, Boyer, same. In fact, this is Boyer's only game in a database at chessgames.com. But Albert Whiting Fox did have quite a few games, actually, 58 at chessgames.com. So the more experienced player one would imagine is the player with white. Okay, on that evidence anyway. So we have knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Whoa! Sorry, bishop b5, knight f6. So this is, yes, Berlin defense in 1901. Okay, white castled, which is like the main move. Knight takes e4, rook e1. Yeah, this might ring a bell so far. So knight d6, knight takes e5 is played here. Of course, there is the really established variation nowadays of I think I'm getting my lines mixed up. Sorry, this is the main move. Knight takes e5 here. Bishop e7. So this looks a little bit on the dull side. Didn't Magnus Carlsen play bishop e2 or something? No, not here. That would hang the knight. No, bishop f1, slightly different position. Castles d4, knight f5. This is super dull, right? Super dull position. Nothing exciting can arise, surely, from this position. All the marks of boredom are on this position. There's only one shared file. Symmetrical pawn structure. Yeah? Yeah? There's nothing, right? There's nothing exciting that's going to arise from this position. Surely. Yeah? Surely. Okay, we have queen d3. Big deal. Rook e8. White plays a kind of controversial weakening move, surely f4. This seems out of place to play f4. Black's already got a beautiful light square blockade on f5. So how does f4 not hurt white blocking the bishop? Well, knight d6, yeah, black's going to be playing surely something like bishop f5 soon. Maybe. We have in this position rook e3. Okay, so knight a5 knight a5 is played. Just out of interest, bishop f5. Okay, there might be an answer here. Okay, queen d1, fine. I just wanted to, let's clear that one out. Okay, so knight a5 was played. Knight d2, and in fact black wants to use, apparently black wants to use f5 for the knight. It's with tempo, why not? And the crude looking rook h3 though is permitted. Now maybe black should have struck at the centre with c5 here. He didn't. Well, okay. So things are getting exciting because white's been playing like a caveman. He shouldn't have been. He's breaking the laws. It's like the martial game. He's breaking the laws of chess to get this attacking position. He's hemmed in his own bishop. He's played anti-positionally to get this position. It's you know, naughty. But anyway, knight h4, yeah, is played, kind of trying to extinguish everything, threatening bishop takes h3. What is this attack? And white continues, really, it seems, in an anti-positional manner with g4 now. Surely this has to be busted very easily. White's just weakening his king. I mean, the rooks are not really speaking to each other, are they? So anyway, we see knight g6 in this position. Okay, so this is starting to look like a hack attack position. This is just wrong. I think the blockade should have been kept on a7. Starting to look like a ripe hack attack position, which shouldn't have arisen. Basically, it shouldn't have arisen with best play. Yeah, and in fact, white might actually have a very, very good move we could go over after. It shouldn't have arisen, but anyway, very naughty. Yeah. So rook h5 is played. So clearly there's some pressure now built up against black's king though. Yeah. Knight c6. Oh, this move is just weird. It's out of this world. It's out of this world. It's really out of this world. Oh my word. That's why this is in the this is why it's in the best of the best unknown players that you've never heard of. It's setting such a trap. It's unbelievable that you can actually set such a trap in the position here. There's a bit of pressure for sure, but it's unbelievable that this trap can actually be set in the first place. So such a vicious one. Yeah. Okay, so if you were going to set black a nasty, really nasty, unbelievably nasty trap, what would you play in this position? There's a move which, okay, you're not playing against a computer, you're playing against a human being, can make mistakes. That's how you've got this attacking position you shouldn't have had in the first place. But let's push the luck further and further and further. White plays a move which sets an unbelievable trap here. I mean, seriously unbelievable trap. Okay, so it's not technically the best move. White play and set massive trap. Can you find it? Can you find it? It's not knight takes f7. That's too obvious. Black just takes here anyway. There's no trap there. Black's better there. You can't find this trap, can you? The reason you wouldn't be able to find this trap is completely absurd. It's completely nonsense. It's total nonsense, it seems, this move. I think you'd have to write a chess computer program which is a specialist on setting obscure traps to be able to find this move. Yeah? I've got you all stumps. This is the beauty of this game. I've got you all stumps. Really, I believe, I'm not lying, there's a massive, massive trap that's set with this next move, which is fallen straight into. It's quite subtle. It's quite subtle. It's not rook takes h7, by the way. That looks like it's too sensible anyway. The best is probably here, hitting the queen, and then we just take here, and then so what? There's nothing. There's nothing. There's no dynamic play. Yeah? I'm going to have to give you a clue because, you know, the more you play chess, the more you realise how many games you can win on this diagonal, you know, with the black king castling kingside most of the time. That's a clue I'm giving you, by the way. I'm giving you a clue. This is the diagonal of death in a lot of games, yeah? As players become more resourceful, you can't play with the f-pawn anymore. And even if you don't play with the f-pawn, sometimes this is a disastrous diagonal. It's part of the ingredients anyway for the trap. Knight c5, it's not a legal move. What did you mean? Reverbation. Pawn f5? Pawn f5? Sorry, hold on a sec. You say f5, pardon me, f5? No, just knight f4. There's no trap there. There's no trap. Where's the trap? Queen and rook are fault. We just, I don't know, take the rook? What happens here? Nothing. You want to use the diagonal of death here, as I've given you a clue. The diagonal of death is this diagonal. Keep that top secret. You win a lot of games with this diagonal. It's the diagonal of death. c4. C4. No one's getting this, huh? C4. No. Okay, I have to show you. It's actually this ridiculous move. That's why I thought it was funny. Yes, the diagonal of death is not even going to be... well... Okay, so black thinks, what the hell is this? What the heck my opponent is doing here? And I don't know, he could be like spending hours researching what the heck is this doing? So maybe he's thinking surely he can defend f7. If the idea is f7, surely he can defend it, right? Connie? What's the idea? What's the idea? This is so good. The beauty of this is technically excellent as well. It's technically 100% excellent as well. This position. Certified, technically. This is certified. Pure precision. White to play. Forced mate in 6. That's how precise this is now. Forced mate in 6. See, I told you it was a trap. It's a forced mate in 6. Yep. The diagonal of death is working its way here because queen takes g6. Which, look, We've done an uninterruption tactic for our bishop for the diagonal of death. See, I did give you a clue. There's an uninterruption tactic. It's a forced mate in 5, whatever black does. Whatever black does, forced mate in 5. So if black played HG... Why is it so funny? I can't believe this was played. Did they make up this game? They spent about half a year making up this game. They composed it. Did they compose this game? Like, they must have spent half a year doing this composition. Okay, wait to play here. Knight takes g6. It's funny. I don't know why it's so funny, because the kings are threatened with mate and it can't even escape to f8 because of this move. Basically, how many options does black have in this position? It's coming to nearly 0. He took. And the diagonal of death is revealed. Bishop takes c4. Black played king f8. You can only delay things with this. Or this. Rook h8. So that's why this game of two very obscure players is in the best of the best. for yeah. You can try queen sack here if you want. It doesn't help. We're still going to go for this diagonal. Yep. Everything after queen takes g6 we can rewind. What can we do here? So hg was tried. You want to try FG? It's even quicker, I think. It's mate in 4, check. And here, knight takes g6. Checkmate. Bishop f5. Just take that with a pawn. And it leaves everything in place. HG knight g6. No difference. No difference. You know? Threatening mates. You know, bishop here is just mate. Just to emphasize again, just in case you haven't realized, it's the same disaster sequence. So was I lying? This was a trap, right? I did not exaggerate. I did not exaggerate. Was that a trap or what? Tell me. That was a trap and a half, wasn't it? Oh, please tell me. Oh, let's take a vote. Was that a trap and a half? 1 major trap. 10 not a trap. What would you vote, just for the record? That's amazing. By the way, if knight takes e5, we can just mate quickly with queen takes, and the king's blocked in comically. What do they say on Chess Game? I'll give you the link on Chess Games.com if you want to check it out, the actual game. If you want to check it out, I'll give you the link here. There's a few pages of discussion, I think. Only 3 pages of discussion. Someone does say it screams as though it's made up. It's a very nice composition, though. Then again, maybe Albert Fox played this weird rook left line and finished with a combo that even a modern master might miss in 1901. Yeah, someone says it looks like Levitsky against Marshall. White rook 48. And there's an Edward Winter feature article, The Fox Enigma. So if you know Winter's on the case, it's very, very interesting. He's probably going to say he made up all his games, interesting games. It is featured in Edward Winter article here. Apparently, there's a link. Edward Winter article has got this position with the knight on c4. He says books have many variants of this game. The basis of combination in chess, well, is read it. Edward Winter's article. There's some stories around it. And there's another, the same pattern. Fox against Casper had the same sort of pattern. Apparently. No, different. No, it's another story. But anyway, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this week. Yeah, remember to like if you liked it. I had a good time anyway. I really did. Okay, so it's surprising because I was playing chess for like hours beforehand as well. But no, I had a good time. I hope you did. Okay, see you next week. Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, likes appreciate it, yeah. Likes welcome. Boost up the video. Cool if you liked it. Cheers. Get those likes in a few seconds. But that's crazy. This crazy line stuff. Thanks very much. Oh, sorry, Black's best response. Oh, just call me. Just about to switch off. Black's best response. Oh, that's good. I should say what Black's best response is. Apparently, Stockfish 8 reckons knight takes d4. Then who's laughing? That changes the picture significantly, it seems. Let's play this. It stops the trap working, actually. If c takes, then we can take here. I don't think anything works anymore. Why has this changed things significantly? If queen takes, it's a check. It's a check. That's why. And then we can just safely take the queen and we're holding c4. So yeah, knight takes d4. Bang. I don't, anything else? Well, we'll just take here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So knight takes d4 seems, I mean, on this analysis, to be the strongest reply, which gives actually black an advantage. Someone mentioned h6 there. That's only, it's not as strong apparently. According, this is at depth. You know, this is a certain depth. h6 is good. It does snuff out a lot of stuff as well. You know, basically it's triggering the diagonal of death, isn't it? This trap. By doing this bishop's just waiting there to get onto that diagonal. Okay, thanks very much. See you next week.